Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with a teenager named Tommy Riley, who is forced to move in with his father, to begin a new life. However, their new home is in a slum, where gangs are allowed to roam. A bunch of kids in the area try to harass Tommy, as he walks to school. Worse, it turns out that he is in the same class as 3 members of the group, that owe him a debt. Tommy, as a transfer student, doesn't want to get into trouble. So he simply compiles when the 3 tell him to switch seats multiple times. When they urge him to move seats for the 4th time, he begins to lose patience. When the fight appears to break out, the teacher enters the classroom, and urges the pupils to take their seats. The bullies oblige, despite Tommy's threats that they would resolve their differences with him during recess. During recess, the bullies come to him, and even bring their pals with them. But once again, he is saved when another gang's members intervene. The rivalry between gangs exists in the school, and they frequently fight there, like today, when 2 gang leaders duel one-on-one in front of others. In the struggle, one of them does not hesitate to employ sharp weapons. The only reason the combat had to finish without a winner is because the teachers are aware now. Tommy has to deal with bill collectors when he returns home, as if the troubles at school weren't enough. His father had amassed a large gambling debt after his mother died. And now, Tommy is confronted with the debt collectors, armed with guns. Fortunately, they do not hurt him in any way, only threaten to pay off the overdue debt. Tommy is awakened later at night by his father's homecoming. His father is truly nice to him, inquiring about his first day at his new school. Tommy chooses to lie and claim that everything is fine. His father believes he is concealing something from him, and he is forced to inform the 2 debt collectors came, which makes him sad. His father knows he committed a devastating mistake, and assures Tommy he would make everything right. He's found a new job in another well-paying location, which would allow him to improve their financial status. Tommy doesn't mind living alone for a bit, and even opts to work as a dishwasher, at a neighborhood cafe owned by the parents of one of his classmates. However, the goons from his school come to the cafe one night, and resolve to do their unfinished business, as soon as they see Tommy working there. Tommy tries to put up with their provocation at first, but he can't anymore after they shove him down, and laugh at him with ridiculous grins on their faces. He quickly gets up and beats 2 of them. But just as he is ready to thrash the 3rd one, an old man he didn't recognize interrupts them. The old man turns out to be Jack, a local boxing promoter. He claims to enjoy Tommy's fighting style, and wants to give him a chance to compete in an illegal underground boxing bout. He offers Tommy $600, which he quickly declines. Tommy demands $1,250. If Jack doesn't want to, he can find someone else ready to pay less. Jack finally submits his requests after lengthy negotiations. They exchange handshakes in front of the diner owner's daughter, Dawn. The next night, Tommy goes to the illegal combat location, where Jack introduces him to Noah, the man who will train him, and look after all of his requirements while he is there. One of Noah's first pieces of advice is that the upcoming match would be like war. He doesn't have to worry about ring fairness, because no one will notice. Furthermore, Tommy will be confronted by Black Death, a filthy combatant. Tommy unexpectedly encounters his classmate, Romano, who is astonished to learn his first combat will be against the Black Death. He advises Tommy to be cautious with his right hand, when fighting his opponent. So taking Romano's counsel, he steps into the ring. Everyone in the audience is betting on Black Death's triumph, and they all cheer as he enters the arena. What Noah said proves to be true. Black Death has been playing dirty since the match begins, throwing an elbow at Tommy, and causing his temples to bleed. And it doesn't stop there, he slams his fist into Tommy's groin. Even if the Black Death engages in nasty combat, the referee ignores it. After all, this is all that is permitted in his boxing ring. The Black Death however begins to tire after a while of fighting, allowing Tommy to execute a flurry of punches, that knocks him down. He eventually wins his first bout, leaving viewers, bettors and investors stunned by what they are witnessing. They all cheer in celebration, as Tommy lifts his hands in victory. He is instructed to meet with Jack's supervisor, Mr. Horn, the next day, to get the payment. But evidently, Horn enjoyed how he fought last night, so he invites Tommy to fight for him again. Tommy turns down the offer, since he simply wants $1,250, nothing more, nothing less. As the day progresses, he comes into contact with Dawn, who is clearly disappointed that Tommy has chosen to become an unlawful combatant. But she finally sighs of relief when she learns that he had only battled once in the ring. He has no intention of becoming a full-time fighter. But all changes when Jack asks Tommy to meet Horn again, in the afternoon. After a small conversation, Horn discloses that the 2 debt collectors who visited Tommy's residence were his men. To make matters worse, his father just resumed gambling, but Horn has a simple solution for him to pay off his father's debt. Tommy only needs to battle in a few matches. He accepts the offer, as one might assume. While heading home from Horn's, Tommy notices his schoolmate, Lincoln, being ganged up on by gang members. He agrees to assist him, but because they are outnumbered, they are forced to flee, the gang members still pursuing them. After evading their pursuit, Tommy and Lincoln engage in a chat, revealing that Lincoln, despite his young age, already has a wife and children. That is why, like Tommy, he chose to earn money to support his family, by fighting in illegal boxing. Later at night, Tommy opts to watch Lincoln's fight, in which his new friend appears to be overpowered by his larger opponent. But in the end, he is able to quickly turn things around and win the fight. Tommy can no longer suppress his curiosity regarding Horn at this point. So after witnessing Lincoln's battle, he goes to his house and inquires about Horn's past. It turns out, Horn is a former boxer, who even held the world heavyweight title. What's more incredible is that he has only lost once in his boxing career. In a rematch, he swiftly avenged that defeat, giving his opponent a lifetime jury. But in the end, even the incredible fighter had to retire due to a leg injury. He had multiple surgery on his leg, but by the time it healed, his golden age had passed him by. He was too old to fight again, so he decided to become a boxing promoter, a career that would pay well, without the risk of damage. Dawn visits Tommy's residence while he is training for several days. She is concerned because he hasn't been to school in a while. He eventually reveals his family's issues, and how they compelled him to return to the illegal boxing ring. Fortunately, she understands his predicament, and they grow close. His life has improved dramatically after becoming an illegal boxer. Dawn is always accompanying him on his activities, and they begin a romantic relationship. Furthermore, he forms friendships with Romano and Lincoln. They rehearse and have fun on a daily basis. But disaster hits Romano during a match one night. He is in the ring with Shortcut, a boxer who is actually better than him. The way Romano dominates their bout proves it. When the competition reaches the 5th round, Shortcut decides to be sneaky, leaking a mystery liquid onto his gloves. When the fight resumes, Shortcut locks Romano's neck, forcing him to ingest whatever he had dripped on his glove. And as soon as he lets go of the grasp, Romano's vision blurs, rendering him unable to fight properly. Shortcut takes full advantage of this occasion, violently hitting him. Even though Romano is bleeding, Shortcut refuses to stop, as if he likes torturing his opponent. Tommy observes all of this from the side of the ring, and he can't stand seeing this. As the referee appears to have no intention of halting the battle, he races to the bell and strikes it, forcing the match to finish immediately. But Romano is already asleep in the ring's corner at this point. Tommy returns home to find a call from his father, who just inquires about Tommy's well-being, and informs that he has to postpone his return due to unfinished business. Tommy then goes to see Romano the next day at the hospital, where he discovers his pal is declared brain dead by doctors. He of course can't let the person who had harmed Romano go unpunished. And his chance for vengeance arrives when he is placed against Shortcut in the ring. Shortcut attempts his wicked trick on Tommy once more. His deception doesn't work this time with Tommy, who already knows how he spilled stuff on his gloves last time. Tommy also decides to fight dirty against Shortcut, slapping him in the groin, making him moan in pain, and unleashing a flurry of punches. Tommy eventually wins in the first round. His only close buddy left now is Lincoln. However, something strange happens to Lincoln one day. His body abruptly weakens, and he collapses due to unknown reasons. It turns out he had been hit in the head the previous week. He is now showing symptoms of brain damage. That is why he is instructed to stop boxing for at least 60 days. Otherwise, he may sustain lifelong brain damage. Horn, on the other hand, has different plans for Lincoln. Later at night, Tommy is perplexed to discover that his opponent is engaged in a battle with another fighter. So he goes to Horn to inquire, who now announces his strategy. He desires Tommy to fight Lincoln, which the latter has agreed to. Of course this enrages Tommy. He is frightened of losing another friend. Regardless of what Tommy says, Lincoln is determined to fight him, a perfect opportunity to demonstrate his abilities to Horn, who has promised to promote him to the professional level, if he wins. Tommy goes to Horn to call off his fight with Lincoln, realizing he won't be able to change Lincoln's mind. However, his efforts are in vain. Day after day passes, until the big showdown between Lincoln and Tommy arrives. This is perhaps the biggest battle in illegal underground boxing, and Dawn expects to see her boyfriend in it. In stark contrast to Lincoln, Tommy is unenthusiastic. As soon as the first round bell rings, Lincoln launches an attack on Tommy. On the other hand, he is a passive player. Even after Lincoln pushes him down, He never attacks Lincoln. Lincoln is enraged by his actions. If the game continues in this manner, Horn will most likely not pay them. When Horn is watching the boring game, he doesn't enjoy it. The audience shares the same sentiments. As a result, at halftime of the second round, Horn treats Tommy by holding Dawn, and telling that he can do whatever he wants to her if Tommy doesn't take him seriously. But for whatever reason, Tommy can't hit Lincoln, because a single blow to his head can be fatal. So to Horn's and the audience's delight, he elects to punch Lincoln on the body throughout the bout. He tries to urge Lincoln to end this senseless struggle, claiming that Horn won't care if one of them dies. He is only concerned with money. But Lincoln responds to everything he says by pounding his skull. Tommy has given up on persuading Lincoln at this point. If he is desperate for money from Horn, Tommy asks him to use all of his strength in hitting him. Lincoln is taken aback when he sees the truth in Tommy's statements. This is completely incorrect. They should not have fought. As a result, he chooses to end the fight without completing it, much to the chagrin of the audience. Horn is disappointed, but more importantly, he is angry, so he steps into the ring and tells Lincoln to complete the battle. Lincoln, on the other hand, refuses his directives. He states that he would no longer work for him. Horn appears to lose control as a result of this choice. He smacks Lincoln on the head, without saying anything further, sending him flying out of the ring. Tommy presumably believes Horn has gone too far by this point. He needs to be given a lesson, to recognize what he did is heinous. As a result, Tommy steps into the ring, and challenges him to a duel, right now in this location. If Tommy wins, Horn must pay off his father's debt, but if Horn wins, Tommy must work for him indefinitely. Horn is willing to accept this arrangement, but with one caveat: they have to fight without gloves. Horn has tremendous experience as a former boxing champion, which provides him an advantage, as evidenced by how he mocks and humiliates Tommy early in the battle. But it is his arrogance that brings him down. Tommy is young, but is wise. He swiftly understands how to fight Horn, and then uses this knowledge to defeat him. First, Tommy purposefully lets Horn strike his head, breaking one of Horn's fingers. Then, much like he did to Tommy at the outset of the match, he incites Horn's rage. Tommy understood Horn's weak point is rage, witnessing his reaction. But this isn't enough to defeat him. To take Horn off surprise, Tommy pretends that his right arm is broken. When the time is right, he punches him in the face, followed by 13 more punches, knocking him out. With Horn's loss, Tommy and his father are finally debt-free. They all celebrate his victory. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.